Welcome to Kafka Internal's Crashcasts. I'm Sheila, and I am here with Victor to dive deep into the world of Apache Kafka. Today we're kicking off our Young Padawan season, focusing on the fundamentals. We'll be starting with the very basics. What is Kafka? But before we begin, let's test our listeners with a quick quiz. Victor, would you like to do the honors?
Certainly, Sheila. Here's a fun question for our listeners. What popular social media platform inspired the name Kafka? Is it A, Facebook, B, Twitter, or C, LinkedIn? Think about it, and we'll reveal the answer at the end of our episode.
Ooh, that's an intriguing question, Victor. I'm sure our listeners are curious about the connection between Kafka and social media. Now let's dive into our main topic. Victor, could you start by giving us a basic definition of Kafka?
Of course, Sheila. At its core, Apache Kafka is a distributed streaming platform. But what does that mean? Well, think of Kafka as a super-efficient, highly scalable messaging system that can handle huge volumes of data in real time. It's designed to move data between different systems and applications quickly and reliably.
That's interesting, Victor. So, if I understand correctly, Kafka acts like a central nervous system for data in an organization. Can you elaborate on how it achieves this?
That's a great analogy, Sheila. Yes, Kafka does act like a central nervous system. It uses a publish-subscribe model where data producers publish messages to Kafka and consumers subscribe to receive those messages. This decoupling of producers and consumers is one of Kafka's key strengths.
I see. So it's kind of like a very sophisticated post office for data, right? Messages are sent to Kafka, which then ensures they're delivered to the right recipients.
Exactly. That's a perfect analogy. Just like a post office, Kafka receives messages or events from various senders, producers, organizes them, and makes sure they're available for pickup by the intended recipients, consumers. But unlike a regular post office, Kafka can handle millions of messages per second.
Wow, that's impressive. But Victor, I'm curious about the history of Kafka. How did it come to be?
Great question, Sheila. Kafka was originally developed by LinkedIn in 2011 to handle their massive real-time data feeds. They needed a system that could process huge volumes of user activity data, like page views and messages, in real time. Traditional messaging systems weren't up to the task, so they created Kafka.
That's fascinating. So it was born out of a real-world need. Can you tell us more about what makes Kafka special compared to traditional messaging systems?
Certainly. Kafka has several key features that set it apart. First, it's designed for high-throughput and low-latency data streaming. This means it can handle a huge volume of messages very quickly. Second, it's distributed and fault-tolerant, so it can continue operating even if some parts of the system fail. Finally, it's highly scalable. You can easily add more capacity as your data needs grow.
Those are impressive capabilities, Victor. Can you give us some examples of how Kafka is used in the real world?
Of course, Kafka is used in a wide variety of applications. For example, Netflix uses Kafka to process billions of events per day for real-time monitoring and analytics. Uber uses it to collect trip data and user interactions for real-time decision-making. And many banks use Kafka for real-time fraud detection and transaction processing.
Those are some big names. It sounds like Kafka is really versatile. But I'm wondering, are there any common misunderstandings about Kafka that our listeners should be aware of?
Good point, Sheila. One common misconception is that Kafka is just a message queue. While it can be used for queuing, it's much more than that. Kafka is a full-fledged event streaming platform that can handle complex data pipelines and stream processing tasks. Another misconception is that Kafka is only for big data applications. While it excels at big data, it can be useful for organizations of all sizes.
Thank you for clarifying that, Victor. As we wrap up, could you summarize the key points about what Kafka is?
Certainly. To sum up, Apache Kafka is 1. A distributed streaming platform. 2. Designed for high-throughput, real-time data handling. 3. Built on a publish-subscribe model. 4. Scalable and fault-tolerant. 5. Capable of handling complex data pipelines and stream processing. Remember, Kafka is like a super-powered post office for your data, ensuring fast, reliable delivery of messages across your entire organization.
Excellent summary, Victor. Now, let's reveal the answer to our quiz question. The correct answer is B, Twitter. Kafka was named after the author Franz Kafka, and the name was chosen because Kafka is a system optimized for writing, much like the author. This was revealed by Jay Krebs, one of Kafka's creators, in a blog post.
That's a fun bit of trivia. It's interesting how technology and literature can intersect in unexpected ways.
Indeed it is. Well, that wraps up our introduction to Kafka. In our next episode, we'll be diving into Kafka's use cases and applications. Don't forget to subscribe to Kafka Internal's Crashcasts and leave us a rating if you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, happy streaming.